Hello. Welcome along to Adventures in Pop. This is episode 103, and you are delightfully welcome. Thanks for joining me. Now, look, I often forget to do the really boring stuff, like say, follow and subscribe and press the buttons and say you like and all those things. So, can we just take that as read so I don't have to keep repeating it every time? It's boring for me, boring for you. Anyway, let's get on with episode 103. I'm going to cover two things in this episode. As I often do, I want to talk a little bit about one or two new innovations from Spotify, our very good friends at Spotify. Not the first time we've talked to Spotify. And I also want to, more excitingly, preview a wonderful brand new single from Goldhawk Foxes, which is out this Friday. Just checking the date, it will be the 17th of March, 2023. Should we start with Spotify? It's very interesting. They are apparently, and I've read a little article even this morning just talking about how Spotify are trying to cement the engagement between the artists and listeners. And well, I'd say we're not really at the cementing point. I think we might be at the very beginning point of trying to find some engagement, because with Spotify, unlike YouTube and virtually every other kind of social media platform, the artist doesn't have any contact with with any listener, any fan on Spotify. It's a very odd remote experience where we get some data, but we can't really use the data to to engage individual people or to talk to people or to announce things to people. It's impossible on Spotify. So they're looking at that, obviously. One of the big questions with Spotify always is, how do artists get remunerated? I think the criticism of Spotify is they've put every bit of music that's available in the universe, in reach of basically everyone who lives in the universe, and it has kind of destroyed the value of music generally. It's made it into something that's so easily accessible that people take it for granted and don't treat it with the respect that maybe it deserves. And as a result of that, or as part of that, artists find it very hard to make a living. I think the number of artists in the whole world who earn more than $50,000 with Spotify is in the the odd tens of thousands. And when you think that millions of tracks are being uploaded to Spotify every week, that's not great, is it? So, I have lots of misgivings about Spotify, but on the other hand, because Spotify are so big, so ubiquitous, big word, nice word, it's you can't ignore them. You can't just pretend that Spotify don't exist, or you can't avoid playing the games with Spotify of trying to get picked up on their algorithms and given that kind of kick boost. Now, look, what's happened recently, which is quite exciting, because question mark, it could go anywhere. I don't quite know. Is that I think maybe more through luck than judgment, 3 of my tracks just in the last few days have been picked up by Spotify as eligible for a new thing that Spotify are launching called Discovery Mode. I don't yet know what this is going to do, because this is, as I say, brand new. These are 3 of my recent releases. I think it's For the Kids, Coming Up Roses, and I Should Have Known, all of which have been released in the last 6 months, where they are eligible to, as I say, be part of Discovery Mode. And I have a choice of whether I want to go down the Discovery Mode route or not. So what are the pros and cons? The pros, I don't really know yet, because they say that put them on Discovery Mode, they will then put these songs in front of more listeners. So potentially those 3 tracks are going to reach a wider audience. That's great. That's exactly what any artist wants. What's the drawback? The drawback is that you don't pay any fee to Spotify up front. What they do though is for those tracks, for the period of time that they are part of discovery mode, Spotify will take 30% of your royalties. Now, look, in my case, that's 30% of not very much. So I don't kind of mind. I think there's probably more upside than downside in giving away that 30%. But there's part of me that thinks, what a blooming cheek. But that's the deal. If you're prepared to spend no money but lose 30% of your royalties for something that could be beneficial, it's certainly worth a go. And I don't have to accept this in the future. I have to say, though, there's one major hurdle that any artist has to kind of overcome before they are eligible, before they are invited to be in discovery mode on Spotify. And it's quite a difficult hurdle. And I think this is where I say I think I've been lucky. You've got to be in a position where you are recording on Spotify stats that you've achieved 25,000 listeners in the last month. Now, that figure goes up and down every day virtually because they're recalculating it on a daily basis. And I have to say that over the whole time that I've been releasing tracks and putting them out on Spotify, there have not been that many occasions when I've been over 25,000 monthly listeners. It's quite a high bar, I think. And it just so happened that in the last week or so, I have been over 25,000. Now, to maintain that 25,000 into the future, that's quite a challenge. And I think what it comes back to something I kind of recognized a little while ago, and I have mentioned on here before, which is, like other artists, you and I alike are going to have to keep releasing music on a very regular basis. The only way I can see to keep monthly listeners at 25,000 or over is to release as much music as I can with shorter intervals in between the releases. So that's more work. You've got to have a pretty good flow of songs coming into your system. But I don't mind that. I've got songs, and let's see what happens. So I just need to get myself into a position where I can just release stuff a bit more quickly. And the downside of that is you don't necessarily give each track enough time to kind of land with an audience, and you're on to the next one. So there's a kind of a balance there. You don't want to confuse your audience, and on the other hand, you do want to get 25,000 plus listeners a month, as a kind of a constant, if this discovery mode is going to work. I will keep you posted. For me, discovery mode is from the beginning of April. It's a month thing. Beginning of April to the end of April. I will let you know how that goes. I will share my results with you, and we can all, have a good laugh together. Good. Let's talk about Goldhawk Foxes. We have a new single. It's coming out, as I say, tomorrow, Earth time, 17th of March, 2023. It's called True for Real, and it's a more down-tempo, sad ballad. We wrote it some time ago. We wrote it actually nearer the beginning of the Goldhawk Foxes kind of relationship, and it's good. I really like the song. I think the notable thing I want to talk about with this is something, again, I think we've touched on before, but it's really relevant to this, which is, as a producer, and actually we both do some of the production, but as a producer, one of the things I think producers have got to do is to know which performance of a vocal, particularly, and we're talking about vocals here, is the one that you want to use on that track. Quite often, particularly with Goldhawk Foxes, we will record a lot of different versions of the lead vocal. We'll do it, we do it over and over again. We'd come back to it a week later, we'd come back to it maybe several months later, and we're always looking for that perfect vocal. That's a really good thing to do. It's a good aspiration to keep, trying to raise the bar. In this case, CJ did a really good vocal, a really good vocal, the very first time. And I would draw your attention to the first chorus, which just has something quite magical about it, in my view. This is a very subjective thing. it's quite hard to explain it, because we're talking about something that is, you just sense it. It's difficult to analyze, but it's about something magic happening on the, with the microphone and the voice in that particular moment, where that you can come at it again a week later, a month later, 6 months later, and you might be able to record a technically improved version. But but the magic is the thing that I'm interested in, and I think that audiences, when they're listening to songs, when they're listening to pop songs, which are about 3-minute slices of emotion more than anything else, of course, there's got to be some compelling lyrics and a beautiful tune and all those things, but underneath that, they are trying to convey emotion. It could be, an aggressive emotion. It could be sad, but it's an emotion nonetheless. So on that very first take the CJ did, it has a vulnerability which I don't think was easily repeatable. And when we did more and more and more vocals, yes, some of the vocals were technically excellent, but I kind of insisted that we kept this original take because it had something indescribable and magic, and it's, as I say, difficult to analyze, but I think that's what the producer's got to do, is get the best out of the performer, the singer, could be an instrumentalist, but to know which one is the one that has something special about it. And when audiences listen, I don't think they're interested in technical brilliance. I don't think, people don't sit down and say, what a technically excellent vocal line that is. They just go with a sense of something, a mood, and that's much more important. I'd like to invite you to sit back for 3 and a bit minutes and enjoy the video and, of course, the song, and listen out for the vocal in the first chorus, because that's the one that I'm kind of referring to. You might not even notice anything. You might just think, oh, God, he's talking a load of old nonsense again. But check it out. I do enjoy. It's called True for Real. And here comes the 9th Goldhawk Foxes single. Till next time, mwah, take care. Bye-bye.
I woke up, keeping my eyes shut as I remember what we lost. In my mind, I've been under, around it, through it, now I'm over. I open my eyes and get on with my morning routine before I can think about where you've been and with who. Today the pain came through. Now the truth, I tried all the classic breakup healing stuff, can't get me through. I think I'm jealous over you. Can't accept the way I feel. Can't admit I'm hurting. Can't accept it's true for real. Can't admit I'm certain. Doing the same thing every day. In my mind, I am haunted by memories that won't go away. And get on with my morning routine, cause I don't wanna think about where you've been and with who. Today the pain came through. I tried all the classic breakup healing stuff, can't get me through. I'm still jealous over you.